This is the Unshadowed Thought Podcast with James Hall. This podcast is dedicated to Michelle Goyevich, Ed White, Caitlin Treacle, and I Chan, and also all the others that have lost their life as a direct result of psychiatric harms. Okay, so it's day number 5. This is as far as I've ever made it in the past. Um, yeah, so last night was absolutely miserable. For some reason, so last night, I decided to heat my lower back because it was achy, right? Just a little bit more painful than normal. But as I laid down and used a heating pad on it, when I was done with the heating pad and I was laying, my pain level was higher than normal. So I noticed my back pain was increasing. So I went to lay down last night, and yeah, it just hurt. Like it hurt significantly, like as soon as I laid down. So then, usually shift positions and try to get into a comfortable position. I mean, this is normal with kind of having low back pain, but I can usually find a position that works all right. Well, every position hurt, and this is new. I've never been in a position where every single position hurt, not that I can remember, and it hurt significantly. It was not like a little bit of pain. Like I'm usually like if I do well and I stretch and do things right, I'm usually like in a 3 or a 4 when I sit or lay down. Now I'm at like a 5, 6, maybe like even a 7, just initially laying down, which usually when I lay down too, it doesn't hurt right away. It hurts after a little while, like if I get stiff in a position. So not a good sign. So I think I managed to get to sleep, even though it hurt. Like I'm familiar with that. It's like just go to sleep anyways. Tried to get into the most comfortable position I could. Within a little bit, I'm awake, and it is now it's like a freaking 9. Like it feels like a Volkswagen Bug is like sitting on my low back, like when I'm laying there, and I'm like, wow, this is like as bad as it's ever been. Like full tilt pain in my low back, um, which is funny because also when I usually lay, I get the low back pain and then it goes down my legs into sciatica. And that's just a natural kind of thing that happens. With this, it's just low back pain, like it's not spreading down my legs. So it's different, it's odd, it's weird, but it's painful. So I'm switching positions. I haven't slept on my stomach since, I mean, for 10, 15 years probably. Um, just because it would always not end well. I'd always be really stiff or it would agitate back pain or whatever. I don't think you're supposed to sleep on your stomach generally as you get older. But I don't know. That's just what my docs told me or chiropractor or whatever. So every single position hurt, like my sides, my back, like going in between side and back. Like I was propping myself up with pillows, all kinds of stuff. And I was catching a little bit of sleep, like maybe like 30 minutes before I'd wake up, even though it was bad. And then I went onto my stomach and actually tried to sleep on my stomach, and it hurt at first, and I felt like maybe if I had a little pressure against my hips, it would be better. So I put a pillow like under my hips and slept kind of with my face down and my back kind of propped up and supported, and actually worked. That felt a little bit better. But sure enough, I probably fell asleep for an hour or two, and then I woke up in a ton of pain. So then I shifted onto my side again. I found this kind of angular position that didn't hurt too bad. Fell asleep for a little while. Woke back up in pain maybe an hour later. This all night, like just waking up and going back to sleep all night. So really unpleasant. Marked change in my pain. To be honest, when I stand and walk around, I'm not in pain, right? But if I sit for a little while, or if I sit for a little while, the pain starts to crop up. That's normal. But if I lay, like instantly, serious pain in my low back, like all over the place. But the pain feels a little bit different, and it's not pushing down my legs like usual. So it's clearly from the fast. If I go on the literature and what I know, I mean, if my low back pain healed from the fast, that would be incredible. I haven't heard a precedent for that specifically, but I know lots of pain syndromes do heal from fasting. So, I mean, mostly what you hear about is autoimmune and different things that are even more problematic than chronic pain. But I don't know. It's just interesting. It's really interesting. Something obviously seriously is changing for the better or for the worse. I don't know. But something is changing. I tend to think it's for the better. I'm actually hopeful about it. Even though I'm in a lot of pain, I'm kind of grateful for it. I knew that a lot of pain is going to have to happen for things to get better. It's just how I understand things. As long as you're following like a natural progression. But we will see. What else was I going to say? Yeah, so I'll just keep going. I forget. I'll try. Maybe I'll remember in a minute. But so didn't sleep well last night. Woke up really lightheaded, really fuzzy this morning. I don't know if that's from the lack of sleep or because I'm on the fifth day of my fast, but not real pleasant. Um, get lightheaded easy, maybe even more a little bit than before. You know, if I get up, every time I get up, I have to be careful. I get lightheaded, feel like I'm gonna pass out. I haven't actually passed out, but I've felt close a few times when I got up faster. If I get up slow, I feel lightheaded every time I get up, but I mean, it resolves really quickly, and I don't feel like it's a significant problem. So, recording the journal a little bit early today. For that reason, I just wanted to capture that stuff. Um, Man, day 5 through 10 is probably going to be the hardest, even though I've never even been here before. But I mean, around somewhere in that period, also, I'll probably get into a better state where I feel happier, feel more confident, and then I stop feeling like the as much lightheadedness and stuff. But I don't know. Who knows? It might be the whole time. A little depressive this morning. I just had this weight on my from all the pain and stuff. It's like, oh, maybe this won't go the way that you think. You know, maybe it will be hard, and maybe it'll end soon. For the first time, I thought about after last night, I thought about breaking the fast. I was like, you know, if you have the severe pain and you're not sleeping, things could get ugly. So, that being said, when I got up, thought about it a little bit, and I was like, you know, not nowhere near breaking the fast right now, but I definitely want to address the pain issue the best I can. So I'm going to be like massaging and stretching and doing stuff today to try to get through it. I'm not going to quit on the pain. I don't even care if I don't sleep for a few nights. I'm going to try to let it run its course and do its thing. I can't see it sticking around when I'm, you know, trying to mobilize what's going on down there. Maybe head to the chiropractor today or tomorrow. Make sure there's no misalignment that could be throwing things off as my body kind of pairs down and gets ready for prolonged fasting. But we shall see. That's probably it for today. I don't really have any pontifications yet this morning, but I don't plan on all these being super long. So, as for other changes, I'm trying to think. No real other changes right now, kind of the same as yesterday. There's an interesting phenomena that, like, I feel groggy and really goofy when I get up and start moving around, but when I start stretching out and I start moving, I actually feel really clear. My body shifts really, really quickly from feeling pretty badly to feeling pretty good. So, I mean, that's certainly not normal for me. I don't like feeling good takes a lot of hard work and slowly comes about, and you can barely notice it really in my after my TMS injury. But with this, I mean, I think ketones get generated with activity or kind of are on call as your brain calls up reserves. Like if you need to hunt or do something important and you didn't have access to food. Um, Historically, evolutionarily, that's how it would work. So it's not a surprise. So sometimes I'll just be sitting there, I'm just tired. Like the more I sit, the more tired I get, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna pass out or just fall asleep. And then I'll start moving around. I'll stretch up. I'll do something. Like I got up to do some dishes this morning, and then like bam, I felt good. I felt confident. I felt pretty clear, and I had the energy to do the dishes. I was like, oh, okay, I could do some projects, do all this stuff today. And then I stretched out some more, and then relaxed a little bit. Got tired again. Got really sluggish mentally. I suppose it makes a lot of sense that if you're not doing anything, your body's going to try to conserve all the energy it can. And then if you start being active, your body's going to call up all the energy and reserves that it can and start processing them. I mean, that's just a sign of really high intelligence, and that our body is far more intelligent than we give it credit for, right? I think it's funny that maybe we expect our body to be intelligent when we're in a state of opulence and we're just throwing a bunch of rich food down it, or maybe even really healthy food and eating really lean, but we're giving it to our bodies in abundance, and then we're trying to like work out hard or recover from an injury or do whatever, and we expect the body to just heal when it's in a place of opulence or plenty, when maybe it's not motivated to, maybe it doesn't think it needs to, maybe it's not programmed to do that. Maybe it's programmed to heal and be most effective when it's really in trouble, right? When you have a lack of resources, a lack of food in your body. That's a evolutionary trigger that you've actually gotten yourself in trouble and that you need to get yourself out. It doesn't make perfect sense, maybe from our modern point of view, right? I mean, certainly we can heal from certain things by eating well and working out and doing stuff, right? But if you have a really critical illness like a neurological injury or an autoimmune or cancer or something like that, something you've really, really got your card pulled for, maybe your body's not really trained to turn on and to heal that stuff unless you're in a really dire situation, which is interesting, right? If we think of, I mean, our body certainly has some intelligence. We're starting to see that, or I'm starting to understand and see that. But then there's this intelligent design that I've been contemplating lately, and that's around how the human race was maybe supposed to evolve. So, based on all the things I've learned in my experience, I think the human race is supposed to evolve in a modest scenario. I don't think we're meant for opulence or overindulgence or times or plenty. I think we're supposed to share. I think we're not supposed to give ourselves too much. I think we're supposed to be humble. I think this is the grand design for us. So in that case, we would never overindulge ourselves. And so maybe if we come to severe injury or we develop cancer, all this stuff from opulence, overeating, and all that, maybe by grand design, maybe we're meant to die if that's the case, and that's it. Maybe it's a sign that we've gone too far, and we're happy being overindulgent in things, and then things wind down. Things start to end. Things get dire, whether that's the death of the people around us or our own death, and then other people watch that and try to learn from it, and they get the picture. I definitely think that overopulence has a big learning factor. I think people are learning a lot right now and understanding what's going on, and it's part of a cycle that people in the future will understand the mistakes really, really well, learn from it. I don't know if that'll end up being a catastrophic thing for everybody, or just a really bad thing that wakes people up. But I certainly think that's a part of a grand design for people and for human beings. At least that's what, I'm looking at the evidence here. like the more we indulge ourselves, the more we indulge our own intelligence and medical technology and objectivity, and let go of spirituality, let go of morals and ethics and stoicism, the more trouble we seem to get into. I personally see that as the answer to the problems we have. If people were more virtuous, then these problems wouldn't exist. Everywhere I look, all the people making big decisions, whether it's a pharmaceutical executive or a senator or a mayor or even people over their own families that are guiding their families, like they're just exceedingly arrogant and self-entitled and just devoid of any principles of community and virtue, and it's ending horribly all around. But yet everybody seems to be like, "Oh, that's rad," you know. You make a stupid show on TV, and everybody watches it. Like this is what they fill their minds with, as if there's no repercussion. And I think there's massive repercussions, and I think we're seeing that all over the place. So I think the answer is, going back in time to what worked, and I think virtue worked. I think being humble worked. I think caring for others worked. And I think these were the heights of the civilizations that we see that were actually effective and beneficial that we would want to be a part of. So there you go. There's some pontification for the day. It's working out in my head right as I'm laying down this track. So something to think about. Something I'm experiencing right now in my fast. I'm kind of seeing it come alive in my own circumstance. But I'm going to be humble. I'm going to get through this pain and see where it goes. Certainly didn't have anything like this on my last fast a few years ago. I say that, I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. So on day 5 I was really loopy and kind of tired, but I didn't have pain cropping up or anything. It was just kind of a unpleasant feeling. So I'm going to get through today, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Okay, little addendum, little part 2 for today. So I actually went out and saw a movie today. I went out and saw Ant-Man. It's awesome. I loved it. I love the Ant-Man movies. I like the humor, and I think they're pretty cool. I like the character. But anyways, I went to see that, so I was a little worried, obviously. Feeling lightheaded and stuff, and just having low energy and going in there. But it went really, really well. However, when the movie was over, I got up. I took a minute to get up. Wasn't in a hurry, so that went well. And I was walking out, and got out, and the lobby was fine. But then when I exited the building and I came into the light from outside, it was still in the afternoon, so there's plenty of sun. Even though I think the sun was covered up by the clouds. It's kind of a cloudy day today. But there was light everywhere, right? A lot more light than inside a theater or inside a lobby. And so, so this goes with the experiential deal with the fast, right? It's evidence of what can happen on the fast and what you might experience. So the light was bright, and it was like fuzzy. It was almost like what you would see like when someone's dreaming, like, or it's depicted in a movie, or like if someone was hallucinating. Like I've heard stories and seen visualizations of like the light just being extra kind of bright and like halo-y around everything. So I'm out, and then the light's halo-y. It's all wonky, right? And I'm like, oh wow, okay. And then I'm kind of adjusting. I feel really lightheaded just because I'm generally feeling lightheaded and tired. So I feel really ethereal already, but even more so maybe after the movie, after sitting in a 2-hour movie. And then that happens, and I can't help it. This happens to me at times. But like when I get drastic changes in my consciousness, or you know, dealing with big effects stuff, for some reason my head kind of like, I panic and jump to like, you're gonna die, right? I think some people have shared that sentiment, but I definitely go there if it's something, if there's a significant shift. I'm like, oh, maybe these are the last moments. So that's how I felt coming out of the movie. I was like, oh, this has got to be what it. But it wasn't. I didn't panic, and it wasn't a stressed feeling when it came on. It was like, kind of like, this is how I would expect it to feel when you're dying. You're like, you're fatigued, you're exhausted, your consciousness is really light, you barely feel like you got your feet on the ground, and then light starts to kind of shimmer around you and over exaggerate everything. Like maybe I mean, I'm sure in my psyche it's there from like a movie depiction, right, of people dying and this bright light kind of coming over them or whatever, and that's exactly what was going on. So when that happened, I've been having a rough day. When that happened, and the feeling was real. This was not a goofball like, oh, it feels like I'm gonna die thing. This was like walking out of there, and I had this decent walk to the car, and this was like this is really what it's gonna feel like when I die. You could die right now. How would you know any different? It feels like you're gonna die. I was like really faced with my own mortality for a moment, of which I have been lots of times since TMS, my TMS injury. And, generally I've adopted this approach of embrace every day like it's your last. Like, accept your death. Accept that when you're living, you have to only do the things that you would want to do if it meant they killed you, right? Now, lots of people don't share that sentiment or outlook, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, since TMS, that's it. If I don't want to be doing this when I die, don't do it, because I've felt ever since TMS that I could drop dead at any moment. That because the sensations in my body, all the things I experience, are completely counterintuitive to the rest of my life and what it feels like to be healthy. So at that moment, like, it felt like I was going to kick off. And then thinking about it, I'm like, this is from the fast. And then thinking about the fast, I was thinking about why people don't make it very long, why people can't get past a few days, why people can't make it on longer fasts. And I thought, probably everybody that fasts for a prolonged period really, really faces death. They really face, in terms of a sensational feeling in your body, right? You're going to get the sensations that you're going to die. And do you press on or do you turn back? There's a lot of other human experiences that echo the same thing. And I asked myself, do you want to die doing this? And initially I say no, right? Like, my objective is not to die during my fast, right? But I asked myself, am I doing the right thing right now? Am I doing what I want to do right now? Is there anything else I want to be doing right now? And the answer is no, there's not anything else I would rather be doing. I am doing exactly what I want to be doing right now. And if I die, great. I will have died doing exactly what I want to do, and I will have died doing exactly what I thought was right. And that's a question I think we have to ask ourselves if we're doing this. I just read some more in the book I read about low back pain earlier today, and that was actually in one of the books that I got, is saying that people, not often, but a good amount of people experience low back pain, and they thought it was like an orthopedic in nature, like them laying down a lot and sitting a lot during their fast led to low back pain. But actually, they ended up thinking it was a biochemical thing. It was probably a detoxification process. My low back pain is not near my kidneys. That was my first concern, is that maybe, there's some sort of pain or sensation generated on my kidneys, and that could indicate like dehydration or some other issue that maybe I should consider breaking the fast for. But that wasn't it. It's like, it's low back. It's not, under the back of your lungs or rib cage, so it's not in the right spot. So apparently something's going on down there. But I did find that it was normal, and it was reported in the literature, so that made me feel better. side note, but I think we have to ask ourselves if we're willing to face death. Which the funny thing is, when you're alive, you're gonna die, so you're gonna have to face death. And if you haven't ideologically reconciled it yet, I feel like maybe we're not really living, or maybe really haven't accepted life for what it is yet, or maybe we're not thinking critically about life. You know, I trained myself up in first aid, emergency medicine, all kinds of stuff, traumatic bleeding, trauma treatment, combat casualty treatment, stuff like that. And I do that because growing up in the country, I was really, really well acquainted with the fact that things and people die. Like, there's roadkill by the road every day. So a deer ran out and got smashed, it's dead, right? People would have to put down their livestock or their animals if they got sick or they were suffering. I saw a lot of death growing up, usually in animals, but I don't think people can help to relate that to themselves and to people. We are animals on a certain level. Also had a few friends die, and but it was when I was young, so the reality of that sunk in at a very young age. So I was always preparing for something bad to happen, or just being self sufficient and being prepared to deal with something negative happening. And so I do the same thing now. I keep med kit on me. Like, I can treat myself and my family and anyone that gets hurt, say in a violent car accident or something, because I think that's a part of accepting that death is a natural part of life. It's not something to be feared. It's not negative. It is a part of life. Some people get taken very early, and are we better than them? We're living longer, so does that mean, oh, I don't have to think about death, or I shouldn't consider the seriousness of life just because I happen to be alive longer? No, I don't think that any one of us, because we've made it further, we're more important or more significant than someone that died in infancy or very young. A coworker of mine, his daughter died of leukemia. She was like 7, and he was falling asleep at his desk at work. I don't know why, but I was cutting him slack because I was in a quality control role where I got to grade his stuff and see how he's doing. And I was just like, I'm just going to cut this guy some slack right now. He's a good, solid guy, and he's dealing with something horrific that I couldn't even imagine. And so I let him off the hook, gave him warnings on a couple of things. I say, hey, this is what you could do better. Be careful. Management's looking for it. But I'm not gonna put this in the books for you. I'm gonna let you skate. And I let other people skate on similar things, depending on the circumstance. I always would warn people, before I'd hit them, as long as it wasn't intentional. And sure enough, management came around my desk. They're like, hey, why'd you let him skate on this? This is the only time they've ever asked me why I let someone skate. And they come over to me and they're like, why'd you let him skate on this? And I'm like, well, I extend that courtesy to anybody. I've done it a bunch of other times. It's not, I talked to him about it. It's fine. No big deal. And I think another manager came over and asked me the same thing. They were trying to fire him because he was having a difficult time at work, falling asleep on his desk and stuff. They'd probably seen other stuff that I didn't see. And his daughter had just died of leukemia. She was like 7. I don't know what it's like to live with that kind of indifference in your heart. I mean, I'm indifferent to true evil, but not the hardships of my friends. So that was on my mind today, especially with my experience. And I realized that as you're going through the fast, you really got to frame it up the right way. You got to be prepared to deal, if you want to make it a long time, you're going to have to be prepared to deal with probably the worst of the worst emotionally or ideologically. You're probably going to feel like you're going to die. You're probably going to be sure you're going to die at some point. For the people that don't, I love it. That's wonderful. I'm grateful. That's cool for you. That's rad. I wish that was me. But not no, I knew that wasn't going to be the case for me. I knew I'd feel very adverse during this treatment or during this protocol. So definitely hit me today. On day 5, around day 7 to 10, I think it's supposed to take a turn, and you're supposed to feel more normal and happy and stuff. So we'll see. I'm halfway there, but definitely just started on the journey. If I make it as far as I want to, so we'll see what happens. Thanks again for listening. Probably my last entry for today, but I thought it was a significant one, with the sensations I felt, and then kind of the corresponding thoughts that came along with it. Take care out there.